Hey, I'm Courtney Dawson, evidential psychic medium, ordained spiritualist minister, and mediumship teacher. For the last 11 years, I've been working professionally as a psychic medium, and I've been training people globally for the last 9 years in how to develop their own mediumship abilities. I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on my own mediumship development journey. I'm going to be sharing with you the highs, the lows, the losses, the growth, and everything in between. This podcast was built because it has the conversations that I was looking for when I started my own journey. Whether you are wanting to know if life continues beyond bodily death, what does it mean to actually channel spirit? Maybe you've had some experiences that you can't quite explain and are looking for someone to guide you on your own mediumship development journey. You are in the right place. I am so glad Spirit brought you here. Let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, friend, welcome back to this Connected Spirit podcast. Today, we have the incredible Julie Reisler today, who is a heart-led intuitive guide. She's a TEDx speaker, podcast host of The Youest You, and founder of the Intuitive Life Designer Coach Academy, a master certified coach and Georgetown University faculty member. Julie blends science, spirituality, and soul to help people awaken their intuition and live in alignment with their higher self. After a life-altering spiritual awakening, she left corporate America to follow her inner guidance and now teaches others to do the same. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Mind Body Green, and the Chopra Center. Julie, so good to have you here, darling.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to play with you and for this conversation.
Me too. Before we delve in, I'd love to know a little bit about you. What's that like working corporate America? I have a corporate background. That is a very unique world to be in, and trying to deal with awakening, spiritual abilities, balancing that all. What's that like for you? What was that? Can you take us back to that time?
Yeah, I think I would say it this way, and it's a great question. And for those that have done this transition, it's almost like I didn't know what I didn't know. So, after college, I worked for a nonprofit, and that led me to a Fortune 500 company. It was growing. I had no it made no sense to go there, but I had a whole download about it, not realizing it was an intuitive download. I loved it. I worked for Panera Bread, which is, huge restaurant industry based company. And I could feel there was a lot of growth. This was years ago, and 2002. And I had no reason to even apply there. I applied, and it was like a franchise that ended up being one of the largest in the country. And they were like, "Look, we're growing. We don't even know how we're going to use you, but we're going to hire you." So I had restaurant experience there. And then I went in and did all their hiring and all their guest relations. And it was such a great landing spot for the time that I was there. I was there 11 years.
Wow.
And I would say for me, the wake up call that happened where I literally had a timeline shift in my, it literally felt, and I'm getting chills, like someone ripped the time, like ripped a piece of paper and was like, "You're going to now be on this timeline." It felt like a rip in the structure of my life. And that was a very intense period. I was already there at Panera, I think by then, like 9, 10 years. And that wake up led me to some seriously intense inner work that then had me realize, oh my gosh, I need to be doing this work, and went back to school, got a degree. And while I was working, and then it was like, I don't fit here anymore in this corporate space. And so it was the first time I hadn't even considered not being in a corporate environment. And honestly, like love, the connected spirit, connected to spirit. I just
Mhm.
followed this in the intuitive nudges to start my own business. That ended up leading to what I've been doing for 12 years. But for a long time, I was teaching and working in corporate with contracts and clients. And not that I do it a little bit less today. I've kind of more gone out on my own, but it was, I think that was a bridge that was needed. I work with a lot of individuals, especially women that are in corporate or coming from corporate. I think the thing is that we're so taught to be focused on our brain and our analytical thinking and
Yeah.
the left side of our hemisphere of our brain, that it took time and it's still taken time to unwind that and be able to, yes, have that be, I think as Einstein said, let it be a trust and serve it. Don't let that be the main orchestrator. And so it feels very different today, yet I get and understand what it's like to be in corporate. I did a lot of time there. So grateful and also didn't plan on that happening.
It's a lot of deconstruction when you're going through that transition phase. And when you're talking about you were at Panier for about 9 or 10 years, the first thing that I thought of is the number 9 in numerology, a time of completion, a time of endings. So, how synchronistic is that? I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No, it's so I love numbers and numerology as well, and it's funny when I left, it was 11 years. My life path number is 11. I was born in the 11th month. My time I was born at 11. Like everything that 11 really, really, really is a powerful number for me, a master builder number. And so
Yep.
that 9, it was like a serious wake up call. And I'm talking like, okay, wow, I got new marching orders and fit in right in with that. Exactly what you said. And then took 2 years to really be able to both get my new training and just really trust it and realize, okay, it's okay to leave and to go on my own. It's okay.
And what does that look like? Because that takes a lot of faith and trust in yourself. And as fellow intuitives, we come in contact with a lot of people, Julie, that lack trust and confidence in themselves, that ability to really even understand who they are. So if they don't know who they are, how do they even trust in that and then take a big leap like you did? That could feel like a feat that would be something you would read about, but not something that they is really attainable, you know?
I think, what you said is to me like the most important thing. The book I first wrote before I started a podcast, it's called Get a PhD in You. And
Okay.
I came into this world of inner work and personal development and growth and all in spiritual expansion years ago when I really struggled with addiction and especially around sugar and food. For me,
Mhm.
that's been my addiction of choice and ended up in a very low spot. It's I have family, my sister is a recovering alcoholic. Like I know it can look different, right? Addiction is addiction. I believe the core, it's really this kind of betrayal of self or trying to like, for me, like it- really not be with myself and trust myself and love myself. So this journey of getting into recovery through 12 steps and doing that work starting in the early 2000s, I think, for anybody, it always has to begin with ourselves and learning how to not just love, but to honor and to trust yourself, and by that, I mean, not the egoic, fear-based self. You wanna love up on that and look at what's going on and how can I understand what this is about, but also the part of us that, what I call your you is to your higher self, the part that is here through all lives and connecting, making real connection. And as I was doing that, that started paving the way. I didn't realize that, but it was the excavation and paving of a new relationship, the most important one with ourselves. I believe that. I mean, you're with yourself indefinitely, right? Until the last
Yeah.
breath. And so that work that really paved the way so that I knew I had done enough time being with myself, trusting, getting to know what is my how to make decisions that feel right for me. It's never going to be what someone else tells me to do. It's got to come from, I got to know that from within. And that's where intuition and trusting myself, it really started to blossom, and I just knew. I knew it. I knew it was time to leave a marriage. I had 2 kids under the age of 2. Horrible timing if you look at,
Yeah.
like, our timing in the, 3D, but it was the divine timing, it was the time to move on and start my own thing, and again, it just I think the more we practice and have that relationship with ourselves, the more that trust is built.
Definitely, absolutely, and it's not easy. I mean, what you're talking about, that's not just a shift from leaving a job. You've had a complete
Yeah,
almost kind of like the tower card. Everything just starts to crumble down and
yeah.
you have to rebuild. And then how do you even for somebody who's listening, how do they even get to that place of, okay, well, Julie did that, but how what does that actually look like getting to know myself? Because there's 1,001 self-help books, there's YouTube videos. What is like one step somebody can take where they can start connecting to their soul self, their higher self, their youest you? And how do they know that's actually them, not their imagination?
Well, it's such a good question. I think we are in a world and society, and especially, I know for those of us, I didn't grow up with a phone or technology,
Yeah.
which I know sounds dates me, but it's true. And I bet many of our listeners like that. We have got the first step is you've got to create some space and some quiet and some time that is not distracted time to be with yourself. I think meditation, some sort of mindfulness practice, something where you're getting quiet is a must. It's not even a that's nice to have. It's a hands down must because it's hard to have any kind of think about a relationship. There's the messenger and the receiver. It's very hard to receive if I'm constantly distracted, if I'm constantly, overtaken by thoughts, by worries, by doubts. Those are going to be there, especially in the beginning. And it's not like they're not still there for me. What happens today is that stillness and relationship, I've been practicing that for years and years and years. That is a daily practice. And then a very simple practice of, I'm going to literally put a hand on my heart because if you understand you have 60 times the magnetic field around your heart, you're connected. It's not just a nice thing. There is intelligence, there's energy of love and care. And when we make contact with ourselves like that, there's healing that happens in levels and ways that we don't see with our eyes that's happening at the energy level. So even just, I'm going to spend 5 minutes here quiet and put my hand on my heart and say, I'm listening. I don't know how to love you yet, to love me yet, but I'm listening. I'm here.
Mm.
That alone, you start very simply, very simple. This is it's I've heard it been said, it's simple, it's not always easy. You're gonna have to really make the decision that your relationship with yourself is the most important thing, which I would argue it is. But
Yeah.
everything comes out of there, everything, as you know, and connection to your higher self, to spirit, to greater information. It typically when we're in a state of safety in our body and nervous system and there is a feeling of connection. I did everything I could to not feel, to not sit still, to not deal with the feelings I had of not enough, of, feeling like I should be doing something else or better, or, all of those lack feelings and less than thoughts. Number one, they're not true, but they feel true. And I didn't want to be with them. It was really hard. And so for me, that was just easier to people please and do whatever you wanted or to eat over it. That's just the way I used to handle it until I decided to get help and I realized I don't want that. I don't want to lean on that. I want to really
Mhm.
be with the uncomfortable feelings as not fun as it is, yet there is something that happens. That's how we really build capacity to receive, to connect.
So you're talking about self-love really is the foundation for everything about connecting to your higher self. Let's get into that. Higher self, I feel from the spiritual community, there's so many different interpretations, and you have dedicated your life now to really promoting and helping people connect to that. Let's walk us through what is that, and then even with that, let's even go on a little bit further and talk about the USGU and your philosophy around all of that because you're working with people from all over the world, Julie, and you're helping them shift their life and really move into this deep state of alignment, which God, our world is so parched for right now, like,
Mm.
so thirsty for.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably one of the most important conversations that, is not as sensationalized, not as sexy, but is like everything. It is the foundation. And I'm a believer. What I've noticed is often the things that I'm going through or gone through, what I keep being told and I'm realizing is it's just a way. So as I move through, and it's not like I am healed. I mean, this is a lifelong journey, self-love, self-connection, connecting, and I'll get to higher self and all of that. It to be able to move through something like this really dark period, and to come out of it literally in a life that feels like it's a life I love that is aligned. Is it perfect? Nothing is. I'm married. I have my own work and business that it doesn't even feel like a business. It feels like this is my dharma, my soul's purpose. So that is available for all of us, and it's going to look unique because we all have our unique expressions of the divine. And, so at the core, truly, I believe the most important work we can do is to really spend energy and time building a relationship with you, and I mean the you that is not just the you in this life, the infinite, the all loving, timeless soul, oversoul aspect of you that exists outside of time and space that also exists in every lifetime. And I'm sure people are like either following or not, but this is the way I feel it and see it. And I know this is a community where these are kinds of things that you talk about. And I've felt it, and I believe we've all had even a moment where we have felt this. There's something else going on here. There's something bigger. And at the largest level, all aspects of our soul, of our higher self, is connected to the one creator, whatever you call that, the supreme, loving, sacred. And so I think of it as there is a huge aspect of me, of you, of our anyone listening that is literally not that is here with us, here with me, here with you, and also outside of this third dimension, time and space. And that it has like eyes that are, eyes, and I mean that like in quotes. It has a vision and a perspective that is a 360 view. I think the Course in Miracle works, there's a lot of works that have come through this planet when they are not distorted are saying this, right? We don't know what anything is for. The ego, which is completely a construct of fear and memory of probably past lives and this life of things that have happened. It's here to protect, but it is not who we are at all. And I think of it like it should be in the back seat, in the car seat, in a seatbelt, and never driving the car, never. And most don't realize their ego, the fear, the doubts that is driving the car. So when you start to really get to know, and I do feel it's all parts of us, yet the heart, we just know, even scientifically, looking at the way that it's designed. That's why I love Hand on the Heart. And I've done a lot of study and work around this. To me, it's like, they call it the seat of the soul, your portal. Um, there's other aspects of all of our bodies that are, it's all sacred, right? And our soul lives in this vessel. It's not like you are the body and I am my body. We're not. It holds the soul. It holds my soul. It's very easy. It's very easy to get caught up day to day in the trivial trivialities, the things that can pull any of us down in density and energy. Very easy. And so the more that I connect and know who I am, my higher self, your youest you. I think of your youest you is the most loving, sacred, infinite. It's the truth of who you are. Nothing can tarnish it. Nothing, nothing. It's loving. It's all love. That's it. Period. And it is connected to infinite intelligence. So it is wise to learn to connect with your higher self, your youest you. Why? Because you can't outsource that to others or to AI. You can't. You never will be able to. I never will be able to. It is literally the biggest treasure in each of us. And this is where I do believe intuition is the language between me and my higher self. That is where I'm guided. And I have learned this the hard way, Courtney. I mean, done so much life where I did not follow intuition. I did not follow the language of my soul, my higher self. It's okay. It's really led to wisdom. This is where we all become alchemists. We can learn to turn the lead to gold. We can. We were meant to do that. But many get stuck, and then we feel like, oh God, I'm living amongst like, a pile of trash. Well, take the trash, recycle it. That's what the unit, that's what the planet does, Earth does, Mother Earth does. So we can shift it. And I do believe that that portal to do that is through your higher self and through intuition.
This is so powerful too. Just want to touch on something you said, Julie. Your intuition, that connection with your higher self can't be outsourced. And that's so important because society pardon me, has this almost kind of like a microwave mentality. Everybody wants instant, quick gratification. And now with AI coming in and people going to it and almost treating it kind of like an Ouija board or a spirit guide. And I go, well, there's a divine purpose for that tool to be there. But I'm with you. It's something that is innately within us, and we can't put that responsibility on something or someone else. And do you feel this is where some people have a disconnect between themselves and their higher self? And then that allows fear to come in. And then they kind of go on this perpetual cycle of doubt and not trusting and repeating these same programs and cycles over and over. And then wondering why nothing changes, even if they take a course or a weekend workshop to connect to their higher self. They're like, what's the missing piece?
Yeah. I mean, in truth, I think, look, and I would say all of this, let it be done with a lens of compassion and curiosity. That alone is going to make a huge shift because if you're coming from any kind of judgment, which is very easy, that's easy. That's what most of us do. You're already now in the world of the ego, of the I. I just heard this great way of looking at the difference between illness and wellness is the difference between if the letter I and we. And
Mhm.
so it's a good one. To
Yeah.
have more wellness, we want that we, and I mean we like between me and my higher self. There is a connection, a unity there. It also widens the lens of realizing, you know what, like my just because I think a thought doesn't mean it's true. Just because I have a thought that this is the right way doesn't mean it's true. The other thing to understand is our bodies, the vessel, have so much wisdom. So and will tell us, we know when we're in the territory of fear, which is never your higher self, that territory is going to give you feelings like overwhelm, doubt, frustration, comparison, jealousy, anger, all of those. And there's nothing, it's not bad. That is not going to be your intuition. That's not going to be the language from your higher self. Now, when I had this wake up, it was a pretty extreme experience. I thought I was literally dying of a heart attack. It was a panic attack. I'd never had that. So my body had to like deal with the emotion, had to deal with it first. I didn't know this then. So I woke up in a
Mhm.
panic. I my, 3:33 in the morning, my son was not even a year, my daughter was 2. It was like this is not good timing. And I got a very strong message clairaudiently, like, "You are no longer okay in this situation anymore." It was so clear, but there was no fear. It was very, very simple. It felt true, it felt calm. It was such a knowing. It was like, "Oh, I've known this." But I did not. It was at the, subconscious level, that below the conscious level. So, I think in terms of the taking a workshop, over the weekend or trying to change, it's really I love Einstein's work. It's like you cannot solve the problem from the same level of consciousness. So again,
Ooh, yeah.
we got to shift our in consciousness. What is that awareness? What does awareness do? Creates energy and attention. And what are we doing when we put our energy and attention on something? We are literally, that's our life force. That's everything. That's our magic wand. So if I am so intentional about connecting to the truth of me, and I can learn to release the need to have it be a certain way and to work on that relationship daily. That's going back to mindfulness meditation, hand in your heart.
Mhm.
There's other practices. What will happen, I've seen this. I've worked with many people around this and I do this myself. You will start to notice the difference of what it feels like, right? Because emotions, energy and emotion, we feel them. It's not just in your brain. You're going to notice the difference, what it feels like when you are in connection with your higher self, and it's something that comes through versus fear or doubt or anything in that area of the I would say egoic kind of. I've heard ego said edging greatness out. It's where
Mhm.
we just forget who we are. So there's a distinction, and it takes sometimes a little bit of, like, weeding it out and practicing and playing with it. We all can do this, and I'll tell you, it's to me, I don't care how good, and I as an intuitive, I can be in the psychic realm as well, like, I always tell people who I work with, "I'm gonna share what's coming through. Please always put this through your intuition and your guidance system,
Yeah.
and anything you get, you wanna do that, because in the end, we all have access to this, and we all have the knowing for ourselves, so you wanna make sure you're not outsourcing your agency either, and, AI, other people, y you'll know, right? I was just guided to an old someone yesterday I haven't talked to in a long time who is extremely tapped in, and it was the right time. It was like she got a message, and I got directed to connect with her. And and it was so aligned. So it's not I'm not saying we can't have other helpers and people. We've gotta know how we gotta be connected to ourselves first so we can be grounded and rooted and be able to that's where that relationship connects. That's where we're able to grow our capacity to receive more information.
Absolutely. And what you're talking about, I mean, I share the same philosophy, Julie, where it's okay to go for a reading and a healer and get guidance, but you need to allow it to be filtered through your own discernment. And if you don't have that awareness of your own truest self, then it's your filter is kind of muddy, almost kind of like, you have a car and after so many miles, you need to get that filter changed. Otherwise, it can skew the quality of how that vehicle is going to run, meaning not only our own body, but our intuitive senses. It's so powerful. And I feel sometimes we can become codependent on other stuff, people, places, things, etc. But yet we're these timeless, eternal beings who have everything we need within us. And while so many other things are vying for our attention, the one that really requires it the most, just in my opinion, is our own soul. Because everything in our lived experience is a mirror of that relationship with self.
100%. I see it the same way. I think one of the things I struggled with, and this I have a feeling for others that are super intuitive, highly sensitive, empathic slash You know, I would even say very good at shape shifting. I'm just gonna say that. Very good at
Okay.
connecting. I mean, and often creative and on that in that realm of whether it's in theater or arts, like that kind of described me growing up, right? And I could step into a character very easily, like so easily, it would almost I would have fun with it, and then when I did this from a place of, we all wanna be loved, right? That's like a natural human tendency. I did it, people pleasing, like, I my joke was I could have gotten a PhD in people pleasing, like, really, I was really good at it, and what ended up happening was I felt this loss of sense of self. I, like, couldn't find myself, and that led to confusion, that led to doubt, that led to addiction, like, I just it was again, this was when in my late teens and 20s, and I've done a lot of work since, but I imagine others might feel this way. I have to be very mindful if I'm in someone else's energy, it is very easy to pick it up, and to sense what that person would need and how can I be there? And I wasn't trying to be manipulative or malicious or anything. And it really, in a way, there is a manipulation piece to it that I didn't mean to be, but by shifting myself to be liked, and I think of that with my first husband and family, like, I didn't mean to do that, but I look back, I'm like, "I wish I could do that differently." However, we gotta lovingly love ourselves through that, right? So I've learned that was a way of trying to stay safe and be loved and change the way my trajectory was, but it's very common. I see this a lot with especially women that are very sensitive in tune, intuitive, even if you don't know that about yourself. If you have a sense that you are, I see this ability, which can be used as a gift, but it can also be used. You have to be careful, really, to know who you are. And that comes through relationship, time, attention, and love with yourself. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. We can give our power away by wanting to make everybody else comfortable, and yet it's at our own detriment. Really common for empaths, intuitives, healers to do that because there's this natural innate ability of wanting to help others, but not realizing sometimes we're getting pulled into their own stuff and it's not actually our place to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Julie, tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing right now with the USU, your academy, and how you're helping people.
Yeah, I when I went back to school, I actually I had worked with a coach. This is like before coaching was well known. I'd worked with a coach in a program that really
Mhm.
changed my life with a question. It was a question that it was like in that instant, I had a whole new perspective on what's possible in my life. Like literally, it was a chiropractic realignment at the highest level. And I thought, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And I went back, I got my master's degree in this coaching work through the positive psychology field, and then also integrative health and well being. And I was so like, I just realized, oh my God, we have so much power. We have so much power we don't realize. And this is a gift. And then as I shared, started my own business and I've really let it be led by the divine. I go with what feels joyful and feels like this is where I'm meant to be. So that has led me today. I have a certification. I coach and teach. I have individual clients and I teach at Georgetown in their coaching program. But I was guided in 2020 to start my own certification. And we are about to start the 14th cohort. I've had beautiful souls from all over the world. It is such a joy and gift. I love this work. I mean, I look at it as miracle work because what's a miracle? It's a shift in perspective. So, that about a year and a half ago, I got this intuitive guidance to pause. Made no sense. This is one of my favorite programs. And what ended up happening was this entire intuition school and intuition languages course and framework just came through. I always feel like I have these extra babies. I have two kids, but they were 9 months, the process. And I'm like, my God, what's up with the nine? We talked about nine. It's numerology. It's our
Mhm.
universe. And so now with my coaching certification, there is a focus on intuition, really learning how do you trust yourself and playing with it and coaching and how do you use that to help people, to really help people to stop the self-loathing, self-doubt and to go after like what is the dream on your heart because we know what you seek is seeking you. So
Mhm.
that's a major part of what I do. I have a beautiful community called the Inner Sanctuary, and we meet. We do healing circles, and I do intuitive guidance, and we work on intuition. And I have my podcast, the USU, as we talked about. And I've just recently been teaching on the Shift Network, all about intuition languages. So for me, this was not. I didn't know I would be doing this. This has really come authentically out of oh my gosh, this is what has changed my life is learning to let basically turn my life over to the divine, to my higher self,
Mhm.
and to this, I think of it like a phone cord that's like plugged into the divine wall. Like it's not me, it is me plus this entire field of loving intelligence. And I let it guide me. That's my vow. Um that is my vow for today. So a lot of the work is yes, I do one-on-ones, I do retreats and masterminds. I also love, love, love teaching, especially coaches and healers. And that's, we'll see. Like I have inklings of other aspects that are coming through, but again, it is not something I hyper plan. I really don't. I just say use me. I am a steward of your light, of your love. We all are needed here. We are all an expression of this oneness. So if you're like leaning in, whether it's this or anything, I just encourage you to follow it, follow your energy. It is never steered me wrong, even when made no flipping sense. Never steered me wrong.
That's the incredible thing about intuition and really tapping into your used you is it doesn't have to make sense in order for it to be right.
Yeah, and often
And
it
it
doesn't.
can be the most weirdest, obscure things that come through, and when you trust it, it's like, "Oh my god, how could I have even doubted this?" But that's so interesting, though, is like we have to have faith in things that are unseen sometimes just to take that leap. And what's beautiful about just having that awareness of self, but also the world through this different lens when we start tapping into ourself, Julie, is that we can see the magic in everyday life and how there's this divine presence that is orchestrating things behind the scenes. And so while our human might be worried about failing, the universe, the divine is like, I got you. Don't you worry about that, honey. It's okay. It's going to be good. And some of the most incredible things happen from that leap, that trust. And I love that you're supporting people doing that. It's needed more now than ever, I believe. So there's this like return to self. It's so powerful.
I love the reminder you said earlier too about, you know, anything and everything, never, never a failure. Never. I wouldn't
Mm,
even use that word. It's learning, period. I'm
yeah.
sure you've heard of Earth School and we're in that. I think of it more like, we're just playing here. We're just playing. Like when you're playing when you're little, you just, okay, that didn't work. Try it again. Do this. So it's okay, with the spirit of, I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. I'm here to share. I'm here to love. That's it. Trust me, that what I have noticed, that is an equation for a life that feels yummy, delicious, connected, that feels aligned.
I love it. It's so good. Julie, thank you so much for being on the show, for just sharing your love, your compassion, and your grace with everybody. I know that your words are going to really resonate and land with a lot of people. It's definitely a message that you've shared today that is timeless. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this and I love the questions and the way that you also view what we're talking about in such a with such depth. And yeah, my prayer is always that, take what you like, leave the rest, right? But
Yeah.
that something that was said here by either of us or that was just felt really makes some kind of actual genuine impact, because that is, it's not information, it's experience that really makes the change. So thank you for what you're doing. And I loved our
Mm,
conversation.
likewise.
Hey, friend, we've come to the end of today's episode, but I would love to get your feedback on it and how it really landed with you. You can connect with me over on Instagram and let me know. My handle is at Medium Courtney Dawson. And if you know a fellow intuitive or medium that could really benefit from today's episode, I'd love it. I'd really appreciate if you could share it with them. It really helps others get the word out, not only about the show, but to feel seen and validated in their own experiences. And of course, this podcast is about supporting you. So if you have any ideas for an upcoming podcast episode, please let me know. You can do so by heading on over to my website at mediumcourtneydawson.com. Remember, you are not alone, and Spirit and I are here supporting you every single step of the way. Have an amazing day.